Darwin's theory of the evolution of species implies that no species is static, but rather it's in their nature to respond to environmental changes and to adapt over time. Despite the ability of species to adapt, however, they're currently facing the 6th greatest extinction of all time. And the problem lies in the fact that the changes we're imposing on the environment are pressuring species to adapt at a pace they have not experienced before. And sadly, many cannot keep up. Ultimately, the ability of a species to persist throughout climate change relies on their abilities to do what they do best, adapt and survive, but in very little time. Now, genetics is a very insightful tool to use to try and understand species evolution and adaptation, and we can think of it much like a story. Some parts will tell us about the species' past, and others will inform us of their future potential. I focused my research around this second aspect, in particular trying to understand the adaptive potential of the Canada lynx. Now, Canada lynx is a very interesting species to consider when studying adaptation because they face drastic environmental changes to which they must adapt every single year, and we know these as seasons. Lynx, like many other species, actually rely on seasons to cue life history events, for example, their timing of breeding. So what I study are clock genes in lynx, and clock genes are responsible for linking biological processes with cues from the external environment. So for example, at the end of the winter, when the day length starts to get longer, lynx are cued by their clock genes to start seeking mates for breeding. This ensures that their young are born at a time of year when resources are most abundant and increases their chances for survival. Now, clock genes contain genetic markers, and they have a very unique ability to mutate at a very rapid pace. And this is really interesting because it may allow for the rapid adaptation of lynx not only to fine-scale seasonal changes, but also to larger-scale environmental changes that we would expect to accompany climate change. So my research focuses on trying to understand these clock genes in lynx, and what I found is basically a signature of selection in lynx within Ontario and Quebec. So in other words, these genes could be involved in the seasonal adaptation of lynx in this area. Now, past research has shown us that lynx are known to restrict dispersal across this area due to differences in snow conditions. My research further suggests that lynx may have restricted dispersal to such an extent that they're actually locally adapted to different snow conditions throughout the region. So ultimately, what does this really mean for the future of Canada lynx? Well, of course, there's still much work to be done, but these results suggest that certain groupings of lynx may be better adapted to snow conditions we would predict under future climate change scenarios. Ultimately, preserving populations of lynx that are best adapted to these future conditions can provide the means by which lynx can persist on the landscape far into the future, despite climate change. Thank you very much.